Per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only. It's not intended as financial advice. It's Wednesday. It's what could go wrong Wednesday. Talking about altcoins here. I had some requests for some older storage coins and Stellar, and I will get to all those at the end here. If you've got anything you'd like me to talk about, just let me know in the comments. Heck, if you want me to react to somebody else's video, we can do that too. Let's start off with getting a barometer of the market here. Looking at dominance, Bitcoin dominance, which continues to look more bullish than bearish to me, certainly. You know, we're consolidating at highs here. We're working our way through the cloud, still at about 50%. On dominance, this tells me probably not a good time for alts here. If dominance is still relatively bullish, especially where it's been, you know, over the past 3 years. This also tells me we're probably not done on any of the capitulation against BTC, and you'll see that on the BTC pairs as well. Some of these, like Balancer, you know, that I haven't looked at in a long time, look absolutely tragic against Bitcoin. And if you're looking to buy that kind of stuff, that's a good thing. That's what you want to see. You want to see absolute capitulation. Now, they risk delisting, which is ultimately what kills any coin. You know, it's not the network, it's not the community. It's being delisted from an exchange. Sure, it would have DeFi pairs floating around, but at the end of the day, the real money isn't quite yet on DeFi, in my opinion. We're not quite there yet. We can't solely survive off of the land in DeFi. So dominance still looks pretty good, which is not a good thing for alts. Rates and regulation. Again, if we're talking about stablecoins, rates just went up again today. Regulation, really no clearer than it was or has been over the past couple months. We've got some bills in the works. We've got some job owning from a bunch of people saying this, that, and the other thing. They're going to pass stuff. I don't think anything gets done until Biden either loses this cycle or loses the cycle after that. Okay, so I wouldn't get your hopes up personally on any regulation. I could be wrong, but that's certainly a trade to think about. I get like flashbacks of the Hillary and Trump election and what happened in the Forex markets after Trump got elected. Specifically because it was so unexpected. Maybe it'll be different this time, but it'll be interesting to see if Biden loses to whoever and what happens to alts. You know, do alts just blanketly rally? Does crypto just blanketly rally because of a regulatory regime change is expected at that point? This is USDC, which I think is a great metric barometer gauge for just health of crypto, health of alts. Bitcoin, you know, has its own inflows. Spot exchanges, alts have less of that, and they rely on things like stablecoins. And if you've got American exceptionalism and you're like me and you think all the other markets don't matter, right? We don't really care about Tether as much. Tether's important, don't get me wrong. But if we're talking about the plumbing and the pipes of DeFi, for example, I think USDC is more important there. And what we've continued to see on USDC is just redemptions, lack of activity, lack of growth in USDC. So I can't expect alts to do well, DeFi to do well, if this is the picture. Now, things have changed since 2021, 2022. There are plenty of spot pairs for DeFi alts on Coinbase, Kraken, right? Binance certainly doesn't have great fiat inflows, but anyway, there are other ways now other than just stablecoins, but I would still argue that this is a really strong gauge of the market broadly. So until this thing turns around, if it turns around, which I assume it will eventually, but right now, USDC supply is still bleeding, especially against Tether, which I don't even have on here, but not a good look for alts in general. Then if we look at alt market cap without stablecoins, without Bitcoin and ETH, in general, what we're seeing still is this consolidation phase. For me personally, I could care less about a ranging market. You can trade the range, great. I'm not here to trade alts in ranges. I'm here to trade alts when we're breaking out, when Timmy's got a stimmy, that sort of thing. This market doesn't really excite me. Now, this is the entire alt market, right? This isn't specific coins. Certain coins, which I'm about to talk about, some of them actually look okay, but a lot of them don't look okay. So broadly, based on dominance, based on USDC circulating supply, based on market cap supply or market cap of alts, you'd expect most of these charts to be in some sort of consolidation. This still leans bullish if this breaks up. Some of these alt charts, again, Balancer. I love looking at just random stuff because from a TA perspective, you learn like, oh, this has a failed ascending triangle. This is a failed inverted head and shoulders. You know what it looks like. You know what happens when you get that failure of a reversal or that failing reversal pattern, because you get exceptionally strong bearish momentum, right? So that'd be something to look for here. Goblin Town. If we start making lows on the circulating supplies broadly, I keep saying circulating supply, crypto cap, market cap, whatever. If this thing breaks down, it's going to get ugly for alts, okay? ETH is an alt, so let's talk about it. Still consolidating, still in this arguably ascending triangle. Now, what I don't want to trap myself into that I did in 2018 on Bitcoin is pay attention to this entire range. It does look like an ascending triangle. I don't think there's any argument there, but there's a broader year-to-date thing going on here that Bitcoin has as well that to me leans less bullish than this macro pattern. So either way, we make lower lows and it's going to get ugly on ETH, on Bitcoin, alts, everywhere. 2K is for sure the level to watch on ETH. If we start closing above 2K, now we've closed above 2K for 2 days and that wasn't enough. So that was also, event driven, staking unlock sort of thing. So if we close a 3-day candle above 2K, that for me is go time, okay? Now I think we'll see plenty of evidence before then, but at the very least you'd expect a bullish move off of a 3-day candle close. I guess this was, 6 days, right? If this is 3-day candles, but anyway, give me a 3-day candle above 2K, please. This is the real problem now, right? Forget the ascending triangle stuff. We're in head and shoulders territory here. And this, from a price structure perspective, kind of scares the crap out of me if you are bullish crypto, right, in the near term. Because if this breaks down for ETH, that's probably somewhere in the 1,300 range price-wise. I wouldn't expect a full revisit of these lows, but I'd expect something pretty close to it down there. And we're kind of running out of real estate. We're running out of road here. We either need to figure out how to go 88 miles per hour or just call it a day. Because like I've already said, the flows situation into alts doesn't look great. And here's the Bitcoin version, by the way. Same thing. It's got this, we'll call it bullish channel that it potentially is risking breaking down from, but it's still got that kind of triple toppy head and shoulders, don't write me nasty messages, okay? That's what it looks like to me, and I just can't shake it. ETH BTC, flat, unexciting, who cares? Nothing going on here. This hasn't changed for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Don't expect it to change anytime soon. I probably expect 05 before 07, but if we get to 07, I like highs. If we get to 05, I think we figure it out from there. But as we sit here, I don't think anybody's trading this pair directly anyway. Let's look at some layer ones, and then I'll get to some DeFi stuff that actually looks pretty good compared to the layer ones, especially. I think DeFi may be seeing some attention based on that real world asset news. I don't know. It feels narrative driven. It feels real. All we are is narratives at the end of the day. We're just a big giant bag of narratives. So if the narrative is bullish, I'm all for it. BNB USD does not look good to me still. This looks like it wants to break down still. It's consolidating at lows. You've got CZ & Co. defending, 220, I think. But if this thing breaks, it won't be pretty. And what I'd watch for is a bullish divergence, any lower low on less momentum here. BTC pair, what is there to say? Doesn't look bullish. No bull div. Not something I'd touch. Now there is a TKC clamp emerging here. This is extremely far away from the mean reversion target of the Kijun, but at the same time, if they've got news pending or expected news pending or eventual negative news, this chart looks reasonable to me, as would any breakdown in BNB USD. Cardano, not much has changed. Same thing, a lot of these charts, a mega bearish, aggressive downward channel on the BTC pair, and basically kind of flat, trying to double bottom on the USD pair. I probably wouldn't actually ever trade this anymore. I traded it probably back in 2019, 2020, somewhere in there. But above 40 cents, the cloud likes it. I'm zoomed way out, by the way. This is the 3-day cloud. It's double settings. It's basically the weekly cloud I'm looking at. Same thing with the BTC charts here. So I wouldn't expect any miracles anytime soon. Some of these charts, like ADA here, do have a potential setup for an eventual bullish divergence. We're not seeing that yet, right? We're still seeing lower lows on more and more momentum. And this doesn't count here, right? Because you are getting a higher low. So what I'd watch for on some of these, like Balancer, I'll get to in a second, that one especially, if it can put in a higher low on momentum with a lower low in price, those are the lows, those are the knives for me that are exciting to play with. Love playing with knives. Sol looks okay. I know a lot of people talked about, Sol is back, this is it. I guess, all these layer ones are sort of fighting for the same eyeballs, I think. People have talked about the PvP market, that goes back to the inflows conversation. I just don't think the inflows are there right now. So if Sol can win the prize of being the best layer one outside of ETH, then maybe. Cloud likes it above 30, whatever that is. Looks okay. BTC pair, kind of whatever. You did get a bull div on that low, but still, mega downtrending. So not super exciting. DOT, same thing. Potential double bottom, potential for some sort of diagonal head and shoulder thing. BTC pair, not yet putting in bull divs, but it does have a TKC clamp, suggesting oversold conditions. So if you like to gamble, you look for stuff like this, you look for oversold, and maybe a pro altcoin trader would start to rotate slowly into alts that look like this because they are so oversold. The problem is I think you need to watch emissions, you need to watch issuance, you need to watch for unlocks, right? I'm not talking about any of that stuff in this type of video. So things like that will just destroy you if you're not paying attention to them, especially relative to Bitcoin or ETH. AVAX looks like Sol, kind of the same thing. Potential, some sort of inverted head and shoulders here, above 20, probably looks okay. AVAX BTC, again, I would look for a bull div on lower lows. I would look for a touch of the current, what I think is all-time low on Binance. Not quite there yet. There is a TKC clamp, right? I think, again, if you're a pro alt, if you're holding BTC and you're pro alt, you like charts like this because you could start to allocate into alts that look like this, right? Now, I would have bids here, not financial advice, but I would have bids here and potentially start adding to positions or rotating into positions and hoping to God that any breakdown in BTC doesn't just crush every single setup on alts across the board, because it probably does, right? Things like Uni, any lower lows on Bitcoin certainly wouldn't be good for setups like this that have a clear horizontal support, right? But the cloud likes it eventually, maybe at 650. You'd say, well, is this bullish bias or bearish bias? What kind of bias is it here? I don't know. I would just watch it, watch the support, watch the resistance. I'd like to think this thing doesn't have another 80% drawdown, but you never know. And it already tapped those lows, similar to what you'd want to watch on AVAX. It already tapped those lows on the BTC pair. On Uni side of things, I think now we're starting to get to the strength of the bunch. Link, Comp, AAVE, lending and borrowing. Not so much DEXs, but Link has shown more strength than most of DeFi, as well as just any alt. Even against BTC, it's not making lows anymore, right? It doesn't look great, but it's not making lows anymore. So I like Link above 850 or at 450, right? that's what I'd watch it. And there is a potential falling wedge there. I want to look at Band because if memory serves correctly, Band was some sort of competitor to Link potentially. And this is a great example of maybe loving a sector, the Oracle sector or something, I don't know. But knowing where the strength is and where the strength isn't. These do have Coinbase listings, but to me, there is nothing here that looks like it's ready to reverse any strength. Look at the Link Band chart. That thing probably looks tragic, right? So for me, this isn't anything I would want to play with, relative to Link, where you're seeing strength. Maker, seeing strength, right? Breaking out of those, diagonal inverted head and shoulders setups. This train's probably left the station at this point, but you still have a pretty decent case potentially for, 1,500, 1,800. The good thing about having so many pairs on crypto is like, okay, Maker, you missed the trade, right? Well, let's look at the other ones that are like Maker. Let's look at Comp, AAVE, Curve, anything else that's similar. Balancer. Not exactly the same, but similar. Maker BTC also, complete reversal of those lows. I don't have RSI on here, but there was probably a bull div on that. Still broadly, not bullish, but it's recovering at the very least, whereas some of this stuff is just crushing lows. AAVE looks okay, right? Now against BTC, still a bearish channel, but much like Uni, this thing could have a shot. I like it above, say, 77. When these start to move, if they do, AAVE, comp, whatever, comp sort of already did. Ideally, you're rotating, you're allocating around and making several profitable trades, or you're just sitting and waiting. You're just, kind of spraying and praying into the sector and taking profit when that makes sense. Somebody asked me to look at this one. I can't remember what it even is. I don't know what it is. Injective? I don't know. But at this point, certainly saw strength where most other coins did not. This is what, a 4x from the breakout point. It does look like bear divs up here. This is an example of something I'd rotate out of and into some of the other stuff that hasn't moved yet, right? Now, that isn't to say that this doesn't have better fundamentals. I have no clue. But, would I rotate into AAVE or comp or maker? Probably. Curve, you'd probably wait on until it's back above $1. Nice psychological resistance. It looks like this inverted head and shoulders is trying to fail, but we'll see. And on the BTC pair, still very much bearish. And this is one where you definitely would want to watch emissions or issuance and how that's affecting price. Comp looks fine. It had some sort of triple bottom and or megaphone, like Link, right? Sitting at highs. Has been bearish for years, literally. If it's going to have a chance, now is going to be that time. And even against the BTC pair, it looks pretty good. It's right at that resistance. So again, if that RWA narrative picks up, not even saying I believe it's going to be a thing, but it'd be something to watch because not much of anything has a narrative on its side at the moment. Now this is the coup de grace here, balancer. Again, I would be very careful. This thing might get delisted. It looks so terrible, honestly. You'd expect a chart like this to not have volume, but I know balancer's traded in DeFi, so you're not like SOL if this thing gets delisted on Coinbase, for example. But look at this head and shoulders, inverted head and shoulders failure. Look at this TKC clamp. Still no bull div just yet. But man, if you're looking for things that are oversold, that is a great example. I assume this is at all-time lows here. This is a Binance chart, so this is probably all of the trading history. So this does not look strong at all. This is another one where you'd have to look into issuance and unlocks, that sort of thing. Is there a team? Are they alive? Because this does not look so hot. Ripple, another thing like ADA, I wouldn't touch it anymore personally, but it looks fine. It had its move. If you miss the move, probably just consolidates for a while until Bitcoin and ETH make a decision. Some of these like Bcash sort of look like they are trying to make a falling wedge up here, and then in the consolidation period, kind of like Coinbase, the coin chart also looks very similar, where it had its breakout. Now it's sort of making a falling wedge. Against BTC, honestly, it doesn't look horrible. It doesn't look horrific on the weekly. This is the Bitstamp chart, so again, I think this is all the data, the trading data. You could argue it's at some sort of key resistance, and if it starts to break out, if you're a Ripple enjoyer, that's where you'd sell your Bitcoin. But boy, does it pain me to say that out loud. I would never sell Bitcoin for most anything anymore. Stellar on a Ripple cousin, let's be generous, let's call it a cousin and not a fork or a clone. Again, much like BCH, similar, for me, this move has kind of already happened, but it is a good sign for some of the other alts that have this triple bottom setup, right? When you do get a move like this, I'd probably move to the daily, right? Because that's going to help illustrate support resistance a little bit better. We're not in a broad bull market, so I wouldn't expect mega continuation from Stellar here, but it looks okay. This was specifically what somebody asked me about Stellar BTC. And on the cloud, you're right. Maybe this does go for it. Maybe this does have a 2x in it. I don't know. It has been extremely volatile over the years against Bitcoin, so I'd be careful. But I don't think it's a terrible trade, honestly. Maybe you wait for a bullish TK cross here on the weekly before taking the leap on that edge-to-edge move. Maybe you hope for a bear div and a re-entry somewhere. Slightly lower around 500 sats, but it doesn't look horrible. I'll give you that for sure. So it looks okay. See a coin. Something else somebody asked me about. storage type coins, you know, it kind of reminds me of ADA. All these charts kind of look similar. Double bottom, maybe, but until it's above the cloud, I wouldn't get too excited. And against the BTC pair, it's just been bear channel, no bull div just yet. And lastly, storage. Same thing, kind of an identical chart here. Double bottom, I wouldn't get too excited until it's finally above the cloud. And on the Bitcoin pair, you know, just straight down. There's a massive TKC clamp here, right? But again, am I going to sell Bitcoin for storage? Probably not. But hey, I've been wrong before. Maybe I'm wrong here. I don't know. It just doesn't look like anything that wants to go up just yet. And certainly doesn't look like it's capitulated just yet either. So some alts starting to look slightly better. I'm just worried about the money in the system. You know, we just don't have that much to support continuation on all these charts collectively. So DeFi looks okay. Probably the strongest sector. But I think everything across the board is just a giant wait and see still. Exciting, I know. That's all for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe. Happy trading. Hello to my new Twitter viewers that have simulcast now as well.